to Tristan Chow, and in this video I'll be explaining what the occult is. The word occult comes from the Latin word occultust, which means clandestine, hidden secret, or knowledge of the hidden. In common usage, occult refers to a knowledge of the paranormal as opposed to a knowledge of the measurable, usually referred to as science. The term is sometimes taken to mean knowledge that is meant only for certain people or that must be kept hidden. But for theosist Helena Blavatsky, it is simply the study of a deeper spiritual reality that extends beyond pure reason and the physical sciences. The term esoteric and arcane can also be used to describe the occult. In addition to their meanings unrelated to the supernatural, the term occult sciences was used in the 16th century to refer to astrology, alchemy, and natural magic, which today are considered to some to be pseudosciences. The earliest known usage of the term occultism is in the French language as l'occultisme. In this form, it appears as a de Lestrange's article that was published in Jean-Baptiste Richard de Ravendeville's Dictionary of New Words in 1842. However, it was not related at this point to the notion of esotericism charlatan, as has been claimed by Hanegraaff, but to describe a political system of occulticity that was directed against priests and aristocrats. In 1853, the Freemasonic author Jean-Marie Ragon had already used occultism in his popular work Machinerie Occulte, relating it to earlier practices that since the Renaissance had been termed occult sciences or occult philosophy, but also to the recent socialist teachings of Charles Fourier. The French esotericist Elepis Levi then used the term in his influential book on ritual magic, Dogma et Rituel de l'Haute Magie. First published in 1856, Levi was familiar with that work and might have borrowed the term from there. In any case, Levi also claimed to be a representative of an older tradition of occult science or occult philosophy. It was from his usage of the term occultism that it gained wider usage. According to Favier, Levi was the principal exponent of esotericism in Europe and the United States at that time. The term occultism emerged in 19th century France, where it came to be associated with various French esoteric groups connected to Epis Levi and Papus. The earliest use of the term occultism in the English language appears to be in A Few Questions to Hiraf, an 1875 article published in the American spiritualist magazine Spiritual Scientist. The article had been written by Helena Blavatsky, a Russian émigré living in the United States, who founded the religion of Theosophy. Various 12th century writers on the subject used the term occultism in different ways. Some writers, such as the German philosopher Theodor Adorno, in his thesis against occultism, employed the term as a broad synonym for irrationality. In his 1950 book L'Occultisme, Robert Amado used the term as a synonym for esotericism, an approach that the later scholar of esotericism Marco Passai suggested left the term superfluous. Unlike Amado, other writers saw occultism and esotericism as different, albeit related phenomena. In the 1970s, the sociologist Edward Tiakan distinguished between occultism, which he used in reference to practices, techniques, and procedures, and esotericism, which he defined as the religious or philosophical belief systems on which such practices are based. This division was initially adopted by the early academic scholars of esotericism Anton Frevert. Although he later abandoned it, it has been rejected by most scholars who study esotericism. By the 21st century, the term was commonly employed, including by academic scholars of esotericism, to refer to a range of esoteric currents that developed in the mid-19th century and their descendants. Occultism is thus often used to categorize such esoteric traditions as spiritualism, theosophy, anthroposophy, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, and New Age. A different division was used by the traditionalist author René Goulon, who used esotericism to describe what he believed was the traditionalist inner teaching at the heart of most religions, while occultism was used pejoratively to describe new religions and movements that he disapproved of, such as spiritualism, theosophy, and various secret societies. Goujon's use of this terminology was adopted by later writers like Sergei Houtian and Luc Benoit, as noted by Hugengraf Gounod's use of the terms are rooted in traditionalist beliefs and cannot be accepted as scholarly valid. Butcher some of those names. The term occultism derives from the older term occult, much as the term esotericism derives from the older term esoteric. However, the historian of esotericism, Walter Hanegraaff, stated that it was important to distinguish between the meanings of the term occult and occultism. Occultism is not a homogeneous movement and is widely diverse. Over the course of its history, the term occultism has been used in various ways. However, in contemporary uses, occultism commonly refers to forms of esotericism that developed in the 19th century and their 20th century derivations. In a descriptive sense, it has been used to describe forms of esotericism, which developed in the 19th century France, especially in the neo-Martinist environment. According to the historian of esotericism, Antoine Feuer, is with the esoteric Epis Levi that the occultist current properly so-called first appears. Other prominent French esotericists involved in developing occultism, including Papus, Santanius de Gautier, Josephine Pedelaine, George Albert Pouet de Pourville, and I butchered those. The idea of occult scientists developed in the 16th century. The term usually encompassed three practices: astrology, alchemy, and natural magic, although sometimes various forms of divination were also included, rather than being subsumed under natural magic. Itchy bloody nose. Nose hair. These were grouped together because, according to the Dutch scholar of Hermeticism, Walter Hanegraaff, each one of them engaged in a systematic investigation of nature and natural processes in the context of theoretical frameworks that relied heavily on a belief in occult qualities, virtues, or forces. Although there are areas of overlap between these different occult sciences, they are separate, and in some cases practitioners of one would reject the others as being illegitimate. During the Age of Enlightenment, occultism increasingly came to be seen as intrinsically incompatible with the concept of science. From that point on, use of occult sciences implied a conscious polemic against mainstream science. Nevertheless, the philosopher and card game historian Michael Dumait whose analysis of the historical evidence suggested that fortune-telling and occult interpretations using cards were unknown before the 18th century, said that the term occult science was not misplaced because people who believe in the possibility of unveiling the future or of exercising supernormal powers do so because of the efficacy of the methods they employ coheres with some systematic conception which they hold of the way of the universe functions, however flimsy its empirical basis. In his 1871 book Primitive Culture, the anthropologist Edward Tyler used the term occult scientist as a synonym for magic. In the English-speaking world, prominent figures in the development of occultism included Helena Blavatsky and other figures associated with her. Theosophical Society senior figures in the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, like William Wynne Westcott and Samuel Liddell MacGregor, Mathers, as well as other why can't I just have two names, for fuck's sake? Individuals such as Pascal Beverly Randolph, Emma Hardinge Bretagne, Arthur Edward Waite, and in the early 20th century, Aleister Crowley, Dion Fortune, and Israel Regardie. By the end of the 19th century, occultist ideas had also spread into other parts of Europe, such as the German Empire, Austria-Hungary, and the Kingdom of Italy. Unlike older forms of esotericism, occultism does not reject scientific progress or modernity. Levi had stressed the need to solve the conflict between science and religion, something he believed could be achieved by turning to what he thought was the ancient wisdom found in magic. The French scholar of Western esotericism, Anton Favre, noted that rather than outright accepting the triumph of scientism, occultists sought an alternative solution, trying to integrate scientific progress or modernity with a global vision that will serve to make the vacuousness of materialism more apparent. The Dutch scholar of Hermeticism, finally got it right after fucking, Wouter Hungraf, remarked that occultism was essentially an attempt to adapt esotericism to the disenchanted world. A post-Enlightenment society in which growing scientific discovery had eradicated the dimension of irrevocable mystery previously present. In doing so, he noted, occultism distanced itself from the traditional esotericism which accepted the premises of an enchanted world. According to the British historian of Western esotericism, Nicholas Goodrick Clark, occultist groups typically seek proofs and demonstrations by recourse to scientific tests or terminology. In his work about Levi, the German historian of religion Julian Strube has argued that the occultists' wish for a synthesis of religion, science and philosophy directly resulted from the context of contemporary socialism and progressive Catholicism. Similar to spiritualism, but in declared opposition to it, the emergence of occultism should thus be seen within the context of radical social reform, which was often concerned with establishing new forms of scientific religion, while, at the same time, propagating the revival of an ancient tradition of true religion. Indeed, the emergence of both modern esotericism and socialism in July monarchy France have been inherently intertwined. Another feature of some occultists is that, unlike early esotericists, they were often openly distance themselves from Christianity. In some cases, like that of Crowley, even adopting explicitly anti-Christian stances. This reflected how pervasive the influence of sectarianisation had been on all areas of European society. In rejecting Christianity, these occultists sometimes turned towards pre-Christian belief systems and embraced forms of modern paganism, while others instead took influence from the religions of Asia, such as Hinduism and Buddhism. In various cases, certain occultists did both. Another characteristic of these occultists was the emphasis that they placed on the spiritualization of the individual, an idea that would strongly influence the 20th century New Age and human potential movement. This spiritual realization was encouraged both through traditional Western occult sciences like alchemy and ceremonial magic, but by the start of the 20th century had also begun to include practices drawn from non-Western contexts, such as yoga. Although occultism is distinguished from early forms of esotericism, many occultists have also been involved in older esoteric currents. For instance, occultists like Francois Charles Ballet and Rudolf Steiner were also theosophers, adhering to the ideas of the early modern Christian thinker Jacob Boehme and seeking to integrate ideas from Bohemian philosophy and occultism. It has been noted, however, this is distinct from the philosophical thought should be understood in the light of polemical identity formations among esotericists towards the end of the 19th century. And with that, I hope you found this little video informative and insightful. And I butchered some of those words. And until next video, take care and be well.